today's adventure, we take a little bit different angle. Instead of flipping over rocks for giant hellbenders, salamanders, or crawdads, we're going to one of the most underestimated creatures in all of the creek, the water snail. Let me ask you something. Do you have a clean creek? I sure hope so. But it might not be for the reason you think. Maybe you might be thinking it's because less garbage. Maybe you think it's because there's not as much rainfall to, have a higher turbidity amount in my water. It might be because of the population of freshwater water snails, the periwinkles. These guys are cleaning powerhouses. These snails hold over 25,000 teeth in their mouth. They move across rocks, breaking rocks apart, finding algae, keeping the water from getting too much algae on it to where the turbidity gets so high it creates this like slush, green stuff that will not be safe for other animals. Snails are full of incredible facts, powers that so many people look over and even forget about them. The reason I made this video is because I want people to remember just how important water snails are to an ecosystem, just as much as the snake, as the fish, as the turtle, as many other different things. That's why I wanted to make this video. Now, you might be asking yourself, why sometimes do I see water snails crawling on top of rocks outside of water, like this guy right here, instead of underwater, like this guy over here? Well, it's quite simple. Did you know some species of freshwater water snails actually have lungs and have to surface to be able to breathe? Pretty awesome, right? A super common question we get asked is, how do snails move? And most of y'all already know, it's a giant foot. As we see here. See this water snail right here? See that little foot right there? That's how it moves across the rocks. But it's not as simple as just gliding across the rocks with a super huge foot suctioning onto the rock. It's actually a mucus these snails produce to make the rock slippery enough to where they can glide over the rock. Because if it wasn't for that mucus they create, they would get stuck half the time. They would make what's called beds, where they would bite down to the rock so much they would sink down. So that's why it's important to keep these snails in the water to where they can stay moist enough to create a mucus. Let's put them back in the water. You're watching Cade Days, Road to 1K. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. We're currently at 834. So if you enjoy creek videos and basketball content, this would be the perfect place to come on and join the journey. Let's get there together. Now, back to the video. Now, here's a snail fact that you probably didn't know. And it's a little weird, but it's actually super cool how God created these animals to make sure that the population stays strong to clean our creeks. Did you know both male and female snails can have both male and female reproductive organs? So after a snail breeds, both of them can go lay the eggs, which I find actually insane. Like that's pretty crazy to wrap your head around. And when these snails lay their eggs, they lay in these little globs. It's almost like a glob of jelly with these tiny, teeny, tiny little eggs that are super sticky. They stick to surfaces like under rocks and whatnot to be safe. And here's something that's really cool. Let's say a duck walks by, all right? And its foot hits near a nest of snail eggs. Did you know that the snail egg can attach on to the duck's foot and get transported to another water source, such as creeks, rivers, and ponds? Which I find really cool and makes sense why these water snails are so abundant. Because of things like human and deer and ducks and a lot of different things that crawl along here, and they put their foot in other water sources and they're able to survive that way, which I find super cool. Here's another thing about baby snails that you might not know. Did you know that baby snails are born with the shell on their back? That's right. As the snail grows, the shell grows with it, which is absolutely insane. It's not like a hermit crab where the crab has to lose its shell every once in a while and continue to get a bigger one because of its size. The shell grows with the snail. It's like having your house growing every couple years. Isn't that insane? There's so much to these little powerhouses than a lot of people think. Because many people know them just because of their cleaning resources for our rivers and whatnot. But there's so much more to them than just cleaning, which I find super awesome. Here's a fun fact. Do you know this little guy right here is related to an octopus, clam, and squid? Yep, all of these guys are in the musks family, which I find pretty awesome, knowing that this guy is related to the same 8-legged without any bones animal. Pretty awesome, right? You know,
these snails do a lot more to ecosystems than just clean it for other animals. They're actually the main food source for many different animals, such as fish, turtles, raccoons, crawdads, and frogs, and many more, which I find super awesome because without these guys, the amazing creatures that we see, such as frogs and fish and turtles and whatnot, wouldn't be as healthy, let alone have clean water. So it's very important to take care of these water snails and watch your step when you're walking through a creek, because you never know how many you might step on. So make sure to watch out next time you're walking through a creek or just exploring out here in the woods. There's so much more to these little musks than meets the eye. And it's part of God's creation. Without these guys, the water would be so dirty. Without these guys, the animals that depend on them wouldn't even be here. Which I find really cool because God, when he created nature, created every animal for a purpose. And every ecosystem that has an animal in it for a purpose, to keep it up, to balance the food chain. And these guys are just one part of the large food chain among the many water sources. So make sure to take care of your water snails. I hope you've had just as much fun about learning about water snails as I had in this video. If you want to see more creek adventures, make sure to leave a like down below and make sure to leave a comment down below. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, I know we can get there. So the next time you're out here in the water, exploring or whatnot, look out for those little periwinkle snails. You'll never know what you'll find out about them. Take care of your abs. Cade's out. Pound it.